Let me light up my candles, girl, because today's video, we gonna need some ambiance. This is the candle from my brand, by the way, Forever Mood. Cheers. Hey girl, I'm Jackie Aina. Welcome back to my channel. A few videos back, the topic of friendships came up and I talked about, how 2020 really revealed a lot of people's true character to me. And I was basically dealing with somewhat of a frenemy situation. And this is a reoccurring situation I've dealt with off and on for the past, ever since college, young adulthood. I think that frenemies are just a normal part of what we all go through. And so because I got so many questions and DMs about many of y'all who've been through similar situations, I wanted to talk about it in today's video. How to spot a frenemy, how to avoid frenemies, what if you are the frenemy, and so on and so forth. Y'all seem to really like these girl chat videos, and because your girl can talk, that's what we're gonna be doing today. Now this video is also gonna be done in partnership with Sephora Collection. Shout out to Sephora Collection for sponsoring today's video. Very, very grateful to be able to work with brands that I already know and love. So Sephora Collection collaborated with Coach. Yes, Coach the designer. And I've been kind of peeping Coach the past couple years. I've been seeing what they've been putting out. Megan Thee Stallion just posted this super cute outfit. This picture of her in like the sporty outfit. She was sitting on bleachers. I've seen my friends rocking some really cute Coach apparel. And now they have this beauty collection with Sephora Collection. I'm gonna be demoing some of those products in today's video while we discuss the phenomenon that is frenemies. Just people who don't like you and you can't get rid of them. Why? Why do they linger? Why? First, I started with primer. I'm gonna be using this one from Milk Makeup because I cannot seem to stop using it. I love this primer. I'm gonna be doing this video Q&A style, and these questions came from Instagram, so I'll just paste them as I chat. Not to be redundant, but I think we should talk about what frenemies are, just so that there's no room for interpretation. Basically, a frenemy is somebody, while I prime my skin with translucent powder, I always apply translucent powder over primer because it makes the base last a lot longer. A frenemy is an enemy disguised as a friend, simply put. Like those lingering people that deep down don't really vibe with you like that. They don't like you. A lot of times it manifests and shows itself in different ways. Sometimes we ignore those signs, or sometimes these signs just smack you right in the face and it comes out of nowhere. I've experienced both. Most recently, it was the latter. Literally no red flags whatsoever, at least not that I can think of. This Coach by Sephora collection is very like flower power vibes, retro. By the way, worth noting, the Coach by Sephora collection is limited edition. I will be linking it down in the description box as I usually do. So check it out while you can, because it's not permanent. Just letting you know. Okay, first is we already know what a frenemy is. And if you've never experienced one, you might someday, so don't get too comfortable. How do you feel about passive-aggressive friends? This is probably quintessentially one of the #1 traits of a frenemy is they can't authentically and truthfully a lot of times tell you how they really feel about something. They have to kind of like beat around the bush. Instead of telling you that outfit is hideous, you should take it off, they might say something like, oh, I see you've been shopping in the clearance section again. You know what I mean? And like sometimes it's okay to be like shady and funny with your friends, but you can just tell by how frequently they do it and when they do it at the inappropriate times. So like if I say like, oh my God, I love my fit, I'm feeling really good today, and I'm visibly like confident and I'm expressing that, and then you have that friend who in that moment says something shady, that's passive aggressive behavior. Versus like if I asked you, hey girl, like what do you think of this outfit? And then they're like, you need to take that off. That's me inviting you to tell me your opinion. Do you kind of see the difference? You can just really tell the person who really just wants to be the Debbie Downer and stomp all over your feelings when you're in the midst of feeling yourself, or when you had like really good news or you had an accomplishment and they have to say something snarky, but they're not saying it in an outright rude way. It's passive aggressive. It's nice, nasty. It's nastiness that's disguised with trying to be pleasant and try to be sweet. You can catch on to it when you see it. Like it's usually very obvious. And like I said, context is everything. I think having a little passive aggressiveness is appropriate where needed. Like for example, dealing with narcissists, but I'm not gonna do a video on that. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist. I can't be speaking on topics that I'm like, I don't have the jurisdiction to do so. And I'm not even a frenemy expert. But how I feel about passive aggressiveness is I just feel people need to, when it's appropriate, just say how you feel and mean what you say. And that way there's no room for like, wait, did I interpret that the wrong way or were you being shady? There's no room for error whatsoever. While I talk about passive aggressiveness and why it's so toxic, I'm actually gonna jump into one of the Coach by Sephora palettes, which is so cute because it comes with this little clip that you can put on a bag or on an outfit. This is the whole palette. Look how cute this is. Here's a close-up of what the palette looks like. This is the Sharky palette. It's inspired by one of Coach's mascots, and it has a blend of both matte shadows and it also has shimmers. But right now I'm just having like this love affair with mattes. So I'm probably mainly only gonna use mattes. at least that I know of for now. First, I'm taking Suede, and I'm gonna start blending Suede in my crease area. Love this color, not only on my crease, but on my lid. The reason why passive aggressive frenemy behavior, and not even just in frenemy behavior, y'all, like even in relationships, if you have a passive aggressive, like an extremely passive aggressive person, be very careful. What they're good at doing is saying things that really have secret meanings hidden underneath. Usually what this is designed to do is to get you to be the aggressor in this situation. And when you recognize it, you're gonna know exactly how to respond to it and how not to respond, so that you don't get gaslit and you don't get basically like used and like victim blamed in the situation. I grew up literally being raised with this behavior, so I know how to recognize it for what it is, usually instantly. And I'm telling you, the only way to work around passive aggressive friends and frenemies specifically is to not react. I know that this is the most freaking cliche thing to say, but I promise you, what they want and what they're yearning for is for you to, it's baiting you. It's literally baiting you. Because the person who gets heated, the person who raises their voice first, is 9 times out of 10 always the aggressor. And passive aggressive behavior is literally an attempt to pass the responsibility onto you to say what you mean, because they can't do it. And that's literally the simplest way that I can put that for you. Have you ever been in a position where you might be displaying frenemy tendencies? Absolutely. I'm not even gonna say I played the frenemy role, but I definitely can say I have been like jealous of someone that I knew. They weren't really a friend though, so it was kind of a different dynamic. They were like an acquaintance. I definitely saw them getting opportunities that I felt like, well, like I deserve that. I couldn't even genuinely be happy for that person, which is sad, but admitting that makes me more human, I think, than anything. I'm gonna bump into Sierra and also start blending that in my crease. I think that if more of us admitted our own toxic traits and became a little bit more self-aware and truthful, you know, about where our feelings really come from, we'd have a lot less conflict in the world. We really would. Accountability and self-awareness will get you further in life than you think. I already like where this is going. I really do, but I'm gonna bump her up, switch brushes to one of my Coach by Sephora Collection. This one is a little bit more dense and it's from our brush stash. And now I'm gonna go back into Sienna and start blending that in the inner, tighter parts of my eyes. What if the jealousy was for a period of time, but you have yet to completely recover? I mean, I feel like you shouldn't really force yourself to do something you're not comfortable doing. I mean, you have the right to honor your gut feeling. And if you really haven't moved on from that, I think as long as you're not, you know, stomping all over the person and making them feel like crap over and over and over again, you may think that feels good in the moment, but you're really hurting yourself, because it's just kind of just mean. It's just not really generally nice to do that. And if anything, you're being very much like the frenemy, you know, keeping them around only to make them feel like crap all the time. Why would you want to do that? It's a waste of your time and your resources. I think if you need more time to recover, you need to honor that. And that is totally fair, and you have the right to feel that way. But in the meantime, I would separate myself from the friend. I would not pretend to be something that I'm not. What I am gonna do is take Sand from this palette and use that as a lid color, because I really like these beige creamy tones as lid colors. You definitely have the right to say, look, I haven't moved on just yet. I haven't moved on just yet. I can't let you back in just yet. I still don't trust you yet. That's okay. It's okay to honor that, but I would still separate myself from the person, just because, you know, why keep them around if you know you're not really checking for them like that anyway? I was always very supportive of this friend and never received half of the support in return. First thing I want to address about this comment is you should never ever feel guilty for being a good person to the wrong people. I know that I've used that quote in my videos in the past. Yeah, you wasted time, sure. You may even have a frenemy that you've loaned money or you've done nice things for. I don't know, you know, like there's so many different things and so many different scenarios we could say we've been caught up in different failed friendships and relationships, but never ever regret like supporting them and not getting it in return, because there's just nothing that says more about your character than it does the other person. In the beginning, you're probably gonna be like, oh, like all this wasted time, all this wasted effort, they've never reciprocated. That's not a good feeling. It is very valid to feel that way. You're not wrong. I feel like this relates to this comment that I got on last week's video. I'm going back in with Sienna and blending, and I'm gonna be reading this comment from my last video that basically said, it's quite long, so bear with me. It's hard to know your friend's intentions if you never spoke to them. If you can't speak to them, then they aren't a friend. They were an acquaintance. That said, since the only person whose behaviors you can change are your own, you may want to ask, why do you keep having this experience over and over? At minimum, your picker is off. Your picker is off. I want to get to that. Meaning you overlook red flags, are possibly too liberal with the benefit of the doubt, and even possibly consider people friends who may not share the same consideration for you. Not saying this out of anything but love. I'm in my 40s and I've had to learn this exact same reason for years. I walked around picking up broken things. Maybe you do the same, and if you do, that's something you can learn from and change. The reason why I felt like this tied into this last comment is a lot of times we reflect about like what we could have done differently, if anything at all. One, it's important to know there's damn near no way at all to avoid frenemies. I don't care what anyone says, it's impossible. You could be strong-willed, you could be a great picker, because we like to use this picking concept in relationships, right? I think it's bogus, I'm sorry. Getting used and abused are very much so things that can happen to anybody, no matter how good you are at picking. So I don't subscribe to that mindset, and to me, it's like blaming the victim. While we talk about that even more, I'm gonna take my Born This Way and I'm gonna start contouring my cheekbones because I'm just about done with my eyes. I kept it really simple, as you can see. So we wanna be very careful with how we frame this narrative of like, maybe you're the one picking wrong people. Contouring with this brush from the Coach by Sephora Collection. Yes, there is something to be said that you can attract people that are not nice when you're in your most vulnerable because they see it. It's written all over your face. But what is there to be said about people who don't exude vulnerability and who don't exude, hey, pick me because I want to be abused and I want to be taken advantage of? You know what I mean? Like, I think that when you have a lot to lose, there's no way you're not going to attract frenemies and users and people who will want to use you at your disposal. To see comments like that, and also people have asked, is there a way to avoid frenemies? The answer is no. In my experience, no. That is the kind of stuff that I don't really subscribe to or believe in, because it's basically like saying the same thing about relationships, right? Like, oh, well, you just picked the wrong people. Like, no, you should just be a better person so I wouldn't have to pick you in the first place. We just need to accept that friends come and go. Every friendship has a season. It's impossible to keep the same friends all throughout the course of your lifetime. Like, it's just not gonna happen. So if you're 17, 18, and you're still in high school, or you're even still in college, and you think these are gonna be your ride or dies well into your 40s, chances are they probably ain't. So you need to just throw that concept away. Sometimes the end of that friendship manifests itself in different ways. Some negative and sometimes positive, you know, and I don't think you should ever feel bad for extending friendship to people who didn't necessarily deserve it. I don't think you should feel bad about that at all. And I don't think you should compromise that for other future friendships, because guess what? You can be guarded and angry and never make friends again ever, or you can be a calculated risk taker and say, okay, I'm gonna move into the next friendship, but I'm gonna know we see each other. Losing a close friend or two every 10 to 20 years, normal. Losing close friends every year, you may want to investigate that one, baby. You may want to look into that. I feel like I attract frenemies and I don't know why. They seem so genuine in the beginning. Yes, that's very normal. That's very normal. I don't think you are attracting them based on energy or personality. It's very simple. If you have something that people want, you will attract those people. You will attract users regardless of, that's just the facts of life. That's just how it is. So it's honestly probably not even you, and it's probably not going to change. I don't think you should like not be friendly to people. Mingle, girl. You better go out and meet people. I'm gonna use this cream blush from NARS in the shade Scandalous. I just got this in PR. Seeing something respectfully. You know I love me some cream blushes, honey. And I'm gonna take my powder brush from the Coach by Sephora Collection. Ooh, oh, that's really pretty. Why do we ignore the signs? You really want to know why you ignore the signs? Okay, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Sometimes it really is just ignorance. If you've never experienced what a frenemy is, you don't know what you don't know, so you don't know what signs to look for in the first place, right? But I think that sometimes people just like what they like. Maybe your frenemy is like a colleague, okay? So you can't even escape them. You have to deal with them every day. Then there are some people where maybe you live in a small town where it's kind of impossible to meet a lot of friends. That's also another scenario. If you don't know what you don't know, then you're not gonna know what the signs are in the first place, right? But I promise you, that toxic behavior, that jealousy, sometimes when it is jealousy, it'll come out. It'll leap right out when you least expect it to. So you need to be ready, and be ready to also trust your gut, because your gut will tell you, no, this is not healthy. I rebuke this. We have a lot of mutual friends and are in a group chat together. Is it rude if I leave? Funny story. This was something that I briefly talked about in my last video about how I found out what I thought was a close friend of mine had been gossiping about me with her friend for being celibate. I was the celibate one, okay? I was really close to this girl, so her mutual friend, like I would never talk to her about something like that. It's not her business of who I'm being intimate or not with. It came up in a group chat because the girl was making fun of me. I remember her, she was like posting like a meme or something, basically alluding to me being like desperate because I wasn't getting anything at the time, which is my prerogative, okay? Thank you. Homegirl didn't know I was in the group chat. That tells me you've been kikiing with my mutual friend about this, because where would you even get the space, the gumption, the gall to be comfortable enough laughing about this? And what's so funny about being celibate? Like, I want to know. Share the joke. I want to laugh. You know, same similar situation. We were all in a big group chat. It was like 15 of us this time. She's kikiing and I'm just watching it all play out, okay? So then I popped up out of nowhere and I think I said something like, oh, what's funny? It was like a let me ask the audience. Well, the audience left the show early because it was crickets. And I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. I never spoke to the friend again. And then I didn't even really mesh with the other girl, the one that was making fun of me. I never was her friend anyway. So I was just like, ew. Anyway, child, so I left the group chat. I said what I had to say. I let it be known that like, I know you're talking about me. Do I think it's rude to leave group chats with your frenemies? No, protect your peace. Protect your peace, and then you don't have to deal with as many notifications anyway. Damn group chats be annoying. How do you expose this person for their behavior? What consequence do you impose? This is actually a question that I really wanted to answer, because going back to what I said earlier about like not feeling guilty for being the right person to the wrong people, I still, depending on the friendship, the length of the friendship determines how you respond and how you handle the situation moving forward. If I feel the way first, and if my gut feeling tells me something is off, but we've never fought before, we've never confronted each other before, I would go up to them and talk to them, because I feel like if it's a good friend, it's kind of owed. And I personally would want, like, I always try to treat people how I would want to be treated. In that moment, I'm thinking like, okay, well, if I'm doing something, be it unintentionally or not, even though, come on, like, you have to know when you're being shady, girl. You have to know when you're a friend. Frenemies know when they're frenemies. I would want someone, if they value me enough, to come to me and talk to me about it. I genuinely would. And I think that if it's a friendship that's like more than 3 years, I think it's worth definitely coming up to them and being like, hey, like, I would rather ask you and be wrong than to just assume and cut you off, because I think giving people the benefit of the doubt I just think it's the right thing to do. So I would worry less about exposing them if they're just being sneakily frenemies, you know, like I would worry less about exposing them or trying to like put them on blast. I would be more concerned about like, okay, what is the state of our friendship, regardless of whether or not you're doing this behavior intentionally or not, right? What is it about me that continuously attracts these type of people? Once again, being nice, having something of value, being generous, being kind. Like, these are all very much so the types of traits that will attract people who display big frenemy energy and big user energy, because a lot of times frenemies do be users. I use these terms kind of interchangeably because they do be going hand in hand. I just want to clarify by saying this, you don't even really have to be like super rich to attract a lot of frenemies. With or without money, you can still display characteristics of being a very generous, kind person. Give the shirt off your back type of person means I don't have much to give, I'm gonna give you the last of what I got, right? So that tells me that is a phrase that isn't specific to just people who make a lot of money. Am I rambling? I'm rambling. I'm gonna use my Lancome Tante foundation because they just sent me a new batch. And I'm gonna be blending that with my Coach by Sephora Collection foundation brush, which is very soft, might I add. Super soft. I think if you are so hardened by life and being used and abused by people, you know, it's gonna take some, I think, toughening of your character. But personally, I don't wanna be so hardened by the world and so jaded that I never let people in ever again. And look, I'm gonna attract those people regardless because of who I am, what I do. It's damn near impossible. What are some healthy boundaries to set with my frenemies? That's a great question. Knowing them for who they are and accepting them for who they are, that way you know what category to put them in. That way you lower your expectations and your standards will save you a lot of trouble, a tremendous amount of trouble. You know that saying, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time? It doesn't necessarily mean, okay, you're cut off indefinitely. Nah, some people, like I said, you can't avoid colleagues, peers, fellow classmates. You know, accept them for who they are, put them in that basket, and just know, okay, I can't go to that person for certain things. Or if I need a confidence booster, it's not gonna come from that friend because they're a friend of me. They've already identified who they are. So if you're willing to tolerate them, there's nothing wrong with that. You can still mingle with them, you can still party with them, you can still kick it with them. It don't mean you have to like indefinitely cut off every single person who displays certain characteristics that don't mesh with you. It just means you see what time it is and you're not gonna subject yourself and put yourself in a position to be used or taken advantage of by them. Are there early warning signs to avoid the friend heartbreak? Well, yes and no. Yes, you can always pick up on passive aggressive comments, not being generally supportive. You started a new business, you got accepted into a dream school. There's definitely warning signs of like a secret hater. They manifest in snarky comments, general lack of support, blatant blatant things like stealing your man. You know what I mean? Like people who want to suck resources out of you. Yes, there's definitely early warning signs. It's like girl code. There's just stuff friends don't do. And when you see that, you gotta be like, yeah, let me peel back real quick. How do you end the friendship that just doesn't feel right in your spirit? If this is a gut-wrenching spiritual thing, then chances are this was at one point somebody that was like a really good friend. This is kind of just what I'm gathering based on what this comment's saying. If it's a close friendship, I definitely think you should talk to that person. Because if you're the one initiating the feeling, then I think it's worth giving them the benefit of the doubt, talking it out with them. Maybe that person can be a better friend to somebody else. I think it's always worth pulling them aside and being like, hey, Miss Girl, like, I don't know if you know what time it is, but this is what I'm noticing, and I just want to put you on notice. I've been noticing you too. You feel me? So if it's a really close friend, definitely come out and talk to them. Now, I know that this is kind of contradictory, or it's going to feel contradictory to what I talked about in my last video, but the difference between this and like my last video is this is the person who feels away first. Like the feeling, whoever initiates the feeling needs to be the one that does the talking and needs to be the one that says, hey, can we have a one-on-one? Otherwise, I don't know. It just feels like you're almost like reciprocating the energy when you don't give that person the benefit of the doubt, knowing that you feel away first, especially if it's a close friend. If you don't talk to them, then it kind of almost makes you like not a good friend too. To just cut people off cold-blooded, no warning. I try not to do that to like really close friends. I don't really think that's nice. Unpopular opinion. How do you deal with people that you know don't like you but support your small business? You don't do a damn thing. They spending the coins. I don't care who's buying the product. It don't matter to me. Girl, let me tell you something. There are so many people who shop Forever Mood who have called me every name but a child of God, okay? From scammer to just all kinds of crazy stuff, and they still buy my products. Do I care? No, I don't. The check has cleared. Like, I appreciate the support, and you can, in this situation, appreciate the support. But one thing about being a business owner, you're gonna deal with people that don't like you. You're gonna deal with people who display big frenemy energy. You need to get used to that. It's not summer camp. All of your supporters and customers are not gonna be friends. And like, that's totally okay, because I would want people to support my business regardless of how they feel about me personally, you know? I wouldn't care, and I don't think you should either. Do you think you need to have strong boundaries and stay friends, or cut it off altogether? Me thinks both, possibly. I don't think you need to necessarily cut off everyone. I mean, honestly, guys, as I get older, I understand people are just human, and we all have our ebbs and flows, our ups and downs. We all have our vulnerable moments, and I don't necessarily think there's never gonna be any room for me to like not be cool with that person. I don't necessarily agree with that. There are some situations, like I said earlier, where it's inevitable anyway. Know when and where they belong in your life and put them in that category. But if they're just so toxic and draining that you're like, okay, child, this is enough. If they're just like so toxic, then of course you need to cut the cord. Don't come in contact with them, cut them off. For sure. There have been situations where I've identified this person for who they are, and I know they're a friend of me. So you know what? I hit them right back with the same energy, child. When they give me them little passive aggressive comments, I just hit it right back, and we can go toe for toe, back and forth. We see each other. I don't cut them off. Like I may still like partying with that person, or maybe that person is great for coffee Starbucks dates, or I don't know, maybe they're really smart and they can help me with my homework. So I still keep them around, but I don't get too close or too attached. Is it possible for frenemies to become true friends again? Well, I mean, I'm very much a never say never type of person. Like, I would like to think everybody can be a revived frenemy. Well, not everybody. I just feel like anything's possible. So like, I'm sure it's happened before. Maybe y'all can sound off and let me know in the comments below if you've ever personally experienced that. I've never personally experienced it, so I can't confidently say like, yeah, like I've been in that situation before. But I would like to think, like I said, that as humans, we just have our moments where maybe I'm not the most supportive friend. That may bleed and manifest itself in ways that like I can't even help. Maybe, but I've never personally experienced it. What do you do when they come up with ridiculous reasons for treating you badly? That is a manipulation tactic 101. They try to shift blame, ducking and dodging. Like, no, you made me do this. Anybody who says, look at what you made me do, is usually at fault. Nobody made you do nothing. You grown, you better own it. When you see that kind of behavior, you gotta call it for what it is. Either you call it for what it is and then walk away, or if you're petty like me, just for demonstrational purposes, sometimes you have to do the same thing to them. You didn't hear me say that though. You did not hear me say that. Girl, I'm good at feeding people with their own medicine. I'm a little too good at it sometimes because I be flipping it right back. Be like, now remember when you said the same thing to me? When they get mad and they feel some type of way, when you do it right back at them, I tell them, aha. So you recognize it when it's done to you, but when you do it to me, you want to play dumb. All right, I see you. I'm blending sienna on my bottom lash line. It looks so pretty. This is actually one of my favorite color palettes for dark brown eyes, like purples and taupes. I just feel like they just make deep brown eyes like really pop more. What about family-based frenemies? We can't unfriend them. No, the hell you can't. I'm gonna use my ABH bronzer and I'm gonna bronze with my Coach by Sephora Collection contour brush. Yeah, no, you can't unfriend your family. That's the point, they're family. Sorry, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but what you can do is avoid the hell out of them at the backyard boogie oogie oogies. I have experienced this. I've actually experienced this even from like older relatives. It's not cute behavior at all. You can't change your family, but you can limit your exposure to these people. You don't have to be best friends with them. Especially if you come from a big family, this is even better, because then the chances of you running into them or rubbing shoulders with them are less likely because you have a lot of other people around you to kind of like be a buffer. But there are some people who literally do need to be cut off. I don't feel guilty for doing it if it's somebody who is just so toxic where they have more negative traits than they do positive, then you gotta go. Especially if I've exhausted all attempts to talk to these people, or when you do talk to them, they gaslight you, victim blame you, try to flip the script, try to say you're wrong, try to say you're being dramatic, and they just aren't empathetic at all, then nah, I'm just gonna have to limit my exposure. And you know, there's varying degrees of this. Like there are some family members where like, I love you, boo, but like, I don't wanna talk to you more than twice a year because you're just not a nice person. It's very conflicting, isn't it? Because like you can still love someone and want to limit your exposure to them, but still recognize them for who they are. I do that with damn near half my family. Love ya, but you're crazy. And I'm crazy too. At least I can admit it. I have lip products from the Coach by Sephora collection. It is a there's 4 Tea Rose lip set and there's 4 glosses in here. The packaging is so cute. The little flower on the cap. Show them, show them. Look how cute that is. I'm gonna use nude pink because it's the perfect color for what I got going on right now. The glosses were inspired by the Tea Rose, which are said to be the symbol of the Coach girl's wild feminine spirit, like mine. These are high shine, they easily glide on. By the way, I hope y'all don't think this is my first time trying the collection. I have 2. So my personal collection is in my personal stash. That's why I already knew what time it was. This is actually my second time doing this same eye look. So everything that was brand new, like I kept it new so that it looked like I'm almost doing like an unboxing in the video, but I've already tried this stuff just so y'all know. I try everything, every single partnership. I would never just blindly promote anything I've never tried. Hope y'all know that. But anyway, the shade that I'm gonna be using in the gloss is nude pink because it kind of goes perfectly with my eye look. And they do tingle a little bit. They have a little bit of plumping in them. They smell so good. Oh, and they smell so good too. Is it possible to keep your frenemy in your life without it dragging you down? Definitely. If you see them for who they are, then yeah, I don't see why not. After a while though, the older you get, it's gonna be harder to keep up the facade. The older you get, the more responsibilities you have. It's harder to, you know, keep in touch with like fair weather friends, because frenemies very much so are usually fair weather friends. They come and they go, they're easily disposable. Sometimes you can only do that for so long. So if it's convenient for you and as long as you're getting something out of it, then sure, why not? I'll be adding more gloss, don't mind me. And now I am done, ready to film some TikToks, which by the way, you should be following me at Jackie Ina, just saying. And my second Instagram page, I Lavishly Jackie, just saying. All right, guys, that is it for today's video and our discussion on frenemies. We've all had at least one. They're virtually impossible to avoid, but look, there is life after a frenemy. I too have been victimized by 1 or 2 in my lifetime. Never ever regret being a good person to the wrong people. Those qualities that you have that attract those type of people, or not, because I don't believe in that. Those are good qualities to have. And it says, you know, a lot about your character. Keep it up. Don't become so jaded that you pull and push everyone away from you. You don't want that. You don't want to give in. You just don't want to give in to the energy that frenemies suck out of you. Once again, thank you to the Coach by Sephora collection for sponsoring today's video. All links can be found down in the description box below, as they usually are. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out. This girl chat, we love them. You guys always come back to these chatty videos. And if you want more, I'm gonna link them right here, because you know what they say. You can never just watch one Jackie Ina video. Please tell me in the comments if you've ever just watched one Jackie Ina video. You're definitely lying. You're definitely lying. I'll search your name and I'll find all your comments. So tell the truth or shame the devil.